Okay, so we wanted to do a deep dive into Josh Allen's injury scare from Sunday's game against the Texans. And I have to say, after digging through these game recaps and reports, there's a lot more to unpack than meets the eye.
It's easy to get caught up in the immediate drama of a potential injury, especially when it's a star quarterback like Allen. But what's fascinating here is the opportunity to examine not just the immediate aftermath of these hits, but the potential long-term implications for both
Mm,
Allen's health and the Bills' game strategy.
exactly. And for the Bills that play in the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
you know the one? Allen scrambling for the first down, the hit that sent him helmet first into the turf. It really made everyone hold their breath.
Absolutely. And what happens next is crucial. The article mentions Allen undergoing a concussion test. And it got me thinking, most fans understand these tests are important, but do they understand why they're used it?
It's easy to just see it as a routine check.
Right, right. It's not just about whether a player is seeing stars or feeling busy. These tests are designed to assess specific cognitive functions. That might be impaired after a head impact, for example, memory recall. They might ask a player to repeat a series of words or shapes.
That makes sense. They want to see if the hit affected their ability to process information and remember things.
Exactly. And then there's balance and coordination. They're looking for any subtle tremors or stumbles that might indicate a problem. And of course, they'll check eye movement, tracking how smoothly the player can follow a moving target.
It's like they're piecing together a puzzle, looking for any sign that something might be off. And I think this ties into what you were saying about long-term implications. The article mentions Allen making some questionable decisions, even after he was cleared to return. Could that be connected to the hit, even if he didn't have a full-blown concussion?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's where things get really interesting. We often focus on the dramatic, visible concussions, but what about those seemingly minor hits that don't immediately raise red flags? The science of subconcussive impacts is still evolving, but research is showing that even those hits can have a real effect on brain function.
Okay, so let's unpack this subconcussive impact idea a bit more. What's actually happening in the brain when someone takes a hit like that?
Imagine your brain, like a network of delicate circuits, all firing electrical signals to control your thoughts, movements, and reactions. When you experience a sudden impact, even one that doesn't cause a full-blown concussion, it can disrupt those signals like static on a phone line.
So it's not just about the big hits that knock you unconscious. Even those seemingly smaller impacts can mess with your brain waves, so to speak.
Exactly. And the research on this is fascinating. There was a recent study on quarterbacks, a high-risk group for these types of impacts. And they found that even players who hadn't been diagnosed with a concussion showed subtle but measurable declines in decision-making ability and reaction time after experiencing multiple hits to the head.
Wow, that's pretty concerning. Especially in a high-stakes, fast-paced game like football, where split-second decisions can make or break a play.
Right. And it raises all sorts of questions about player safety, long-term health, and even the strategic implications for teams. If even a mild hit can impact a quarterback's cognitive function, how does that factor into their performance? And what does it mean for a team that's built its entire offense around that one player?
Which brings us back to the Bills
Yeah.
and their reliance on Josh Allen. Because let's be honest, he's bailed them out countless times with his incredible athleticism and playmaking ability. But what if those questionable decisions we saw in the fourth quarter weren't just a case of him having an off day, but rather a sign of these subconcussive impacts adding up?
It's a sobering thought, isn't it? And it makes you wonder, can the Bills really afford to pin all their hopes on a strategy that hinges on Allen's ability to consistently perform at a superhuman level while taking these kinds of hits week after week?
Right. It's one thing to have a game plan that utilizes your star player's strengths, but it's another thing entirely to be completely reliant on them. So if we're looking ahead, if we're the Bills coaching staff, what are some potential adjustments? How do you game plan for the possibility that Allen might not always be able to be Superman out there?
That's the million-dollar question, and there are no easy answers. But I think it starts with diversifying the offense, finding ways to move the ball and score points that don't solely depend on Allen's arm or legs.
It's like that old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket,
Yeah.
right? And in the Bills' case,
Yeah.
that basket is often literally in Josh Allen's hands.
Exactly. And look, I'm not saying Allen isn't capable of carrying the team. He's proven time and time again that he's a special talent. But relying solely on one player, especially in a league as physically demanding as the NFL, is a risky strategy.
So if you're the Bills, how do you diversify? Where do you even start?
Well, it might mean leaning a bit more on the run game, taking some of the pressure off Allen, both physically and mentally.
Right. Give him a chance to step back, read the defense, and make plays from the pocket when necessary, instead of always feeling like he has to be the hero.
Precisely. And it's not just about running the ball more, it's about utilizing different receivers, finding creative ways to get playmakers involved, and keeping the defense guessing.
So a more unpredictable offense,
Yeah.
one that keeps opponents on their toes, not knowing whether to expect a deep bomb from Allen
Yeah.
or a well-timed handoff to the running back.
Exactly. It's about creating a more well-rounded attack that can adapt to different situations, including those where Allen might be facing pressure, or even if he's out of the game for a stretch.
Because as we saw in this game against the Texans, even those brief moments when a quarterback is sidelined can have a huge impact on the outcome. And those questionable decisions from Allen, even if they weren't directly caused by that hit, they highlight just how crucial it is for the Bills to have other options, other ways to move the ball and put points on the board.
It's a reminder that even the most talented quarterbacks need support, and that building a championship team requires more than just relying on individual brilliance. It's about coaching, strategy, and having a system in place that can thrive even when facing adversity.
So the big takeaway for Bills fans here isn't to panic about one loss or to question Allen's ability. It's about recognizing the importance of a balanced attack and a team that's built to withstand the inevitable bumps in the road that come with a long season.
Absolutely. This game was a wake-up call, no doubt, but it's also an opportunity for the Bills to learn, adapt, and strengthen their approach moving forward. And for those of us watching, it'll be fascinating to see how they respond to this challenge.
Because in the NFL, it's not just about surviving the hits. It's about learning from them and coming back stronger. And that's something I think we can all apply to our own lives, wouldn't you say?